Hey, I'm Quincy and I'm a radio personality, but just like you, I'm always wanting to make better health choices for myself and of course for my family. Now that's why I've teamed up with my friend Dr. Dean Tindall and the fine folks of New Life Naturopathic, the creators of new-lifeweightloss.com, to bring you a podcast focused on giving you the information you need to make the best health decisions for you and your family. Now, that's going to be without sway from what mainstream medicine has become. Now, this podcast, Pursuit of New Life, we're going to release one each Friday. And we're going to focus on debunking the mainstream medicine myths now associated with naturopathic, holistic medicine, while giving you clear insight into ways you can make your health a lifestyle and not a jump from fad diet to fad diet. Experts in the fields of biochemistry, chiropractic, physiology, women's health, and much more will weigh in on a range of topics, all designed to open your eyes, expand your knowledge, and bring you to new life. Now be sure to subscribe to Pursuit of New Life on all the podcast platforms, and also follow us on YouTube at newlifenaturopathic.com, and be joining us every Friday for Pursuit of New Life.
Welcome to the podcast, folks. Pursuit of New Life. Thank you for joining us. We encourage you to subscribe and download on your preferred podcast platform. And of course, we have our New Life Naturopathic team, because it is on YouTube, especially New Life Naturopathic, that you need to look up. And we encourage you to visit the website newlifenaturopathic.com and new-lifeweightloss.com. Lots of places that we will tell you about even more as we continue. If you are new to the program, we're going to talk about a holistic view of your health and how you can make healthy choices and things you shouldn't be doing when it comes to your health. And today, a big one that if you have been listening, you've heard Dr. Tindall mention before. It is almost as bad as sugar. It's Dr. Google. And that's last week we talked about sugar and the death of it. So Dr. Tindall, what is it? Dr. Google makes your life harder, doesn't it?
I think it makes every doctor's life miserable sometimes. You know, we get a lot of patients that, hey doc, I went on Google and I Googled all my
He can't even say Google without calling it Dr. Google.
Dr. Google. Yeah. I went on Google and I read and I think I have. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Have you been like to Zimbabwe? Well, no. Then I doubt you have that.
But it was on the list.
Yeah. All my symptoms are this. Yeah. So it's Dr. Google. It's one of the things that we really love and cherish in our office. What I think is one of the funny, we got funny stories that kind of go with it. Like, we get patients and we'll come in and they'll give us our whole list of medications that we're taking. I say, okay, have you gone to like any site like drugs.com, put them in, saw the side effects, research side effects, put it in the drug interaction calculator so you can see if there are any drug interactions, stuff like that. And they're like, oh, my doctor gave them to me.
Far.
Yeah. My doctor gave them to me. They're safe. Okay. I go, okay. I said, so we're going to do that. And so, we'll do that and stuff. And now then after we get done doing their history and all this stuff, I feel like, well, you know what? We're going to, support your liver. We're going to use a product called Liviplex. And they go, whoa. I can't take it, doc, until I actually go on to Google and research if it's safe to take. And I'm thinking to myself, there's kind of
well, I mean, if at least they learned, maybe a little bit there.
But yeah, the problem with Google and all these other things, well, there's several of them. You go on Google, you look up your symptoms, and there are some patients correct, yeah, but for the most part, they look. There's an adage that we used to be taught in school when we were going through chiropractic school, which is a form of medicine. When you hear hoof beats, think horses, not zebras. So, or another adage is Occam's razor. If it's the simplest answer is most likely the most common answer. So when you work up patients, you're taking in a lot of information. You're looking at blood work. You're looking at, sometimes we're, especially chiropractic, we're looking at any MRIs, CAT scans, any information that they give us. We're trying to put that all together, taking those pieces of the puzzle to put that puzzle together and try to figure out what's the underlying cause of the problem. This is going to be a podcast that we're going to do later that Dr. Stuber wants to do is the cause is the cure. You got to find the cause of the problem so you can cure the patient. And so what happens is people get on Dr. Google and then they start Googling all their stuff and they talk themselves into having some erroneous, really rare, odd disease thing. And then then they have to kind of talk them off the ledge of, what they think they have. And it makes it difficult because what happens too is they read on it and then they start to incorporate those symptoms and those problems into their history, even though it's not really part of their history. So kind of sometimes fleshing that out becomes very, very difficult. And then the other thing that you have is, of course, they always look for the cure for the problem. And man, I think if they told people that if you eat dog poop for the cure of like acne, it was on Google that you could do that, and they would go out and do it. It's just they do some really crazy stuff, and a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of when it comes to doing nutrition work, and even as a doctor, a huge thing that kind of factors in that people don't really take into account is a thing called ethics. Okay. A lot of people out on the internet are just selling, they're out there selling stuff. They're selling anything they can sell, and they don't have any ethics behind it. And they'll sell you whatever they think that you will buy. And you see, I see these commercials all the time. There's one that when I listen to YouTube, there's some guy who's really ripped and he's telling everybody that, oh, you don't have to exercise. You don't have to eat right. I'll do all this. Just follow my program. And I kind of actually went on his website to kind of investigate it. And I was like, this guy's got, it's full of crap, but he's selling, hey, buy this turmeric because turmeric is great for weight loss. Well, yeah, but there's lots of other better stuff for weight loss than turmeric. Just people trying to sell these different things. And that's the problem with Dr. Google is you get so sucked into the scams and the false information, and you get deeply confused and just stuff like that.
Well, now the problem is, and you're actually having doctors come out on social media platforms like TikTok, and they will do a split screen and show you some ad on the internet that showed them approving some crazy magic pill. And then they're saying that they never did that. So somebody's taken their likeness or some deep fake technology and made it look like, and they've done it with celebrities and other things. So now, not only could you not believe the internet before, you definitely can't now. So, not only do we have people looking stuff up and making things worse by coming to you and saying, I have this or I have that, and trying to figure all that out, but we have all of this information out there that we don't know what's what, which again comes back to what you always say, Dr. Tindall, is it's who you're talking to. Make sure they know what they're talking about, actual people, not Dr. Google. So Dr. Stuber, you sent me some graphics to possibly use in this episode. And I want to start with one that is a meme that I've seen before. And so for the viewers on YouTube, you can see it. New Life Naturopathic. For those listening, it says, please don't confuse your Google search with my medical degree. I also improved upon this meme. I added, don't confuse your Google search with my training and experience. And that is specifically for the New Life team right there. Because I know there's medical degrees among you, but the training and experience is really what comes into play. So
I like
do you like that one better, Dr. Stuber?
Yes, I really do. It's interesting because, as Dr. Tindall said, we've run into all kinds of things in practice. And what I see a lot of is people women want a quick fix for weight loss, but they look on the internet and they just don't realize that most of the information there is there because of money. Somebody has paid to be there, to advertise, to, fill your hopes and dreams with this is going to cure everything. So it's interesting because I will see somebody who has a long list of, here's my symptoms, and I went on there, and Google says blah, 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 so I've taken this, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, okay, well, where did you find that, and why? Why does that make sense to you? And they'll go, well, I don't know. And I say, stop right there. You're right, you don't know. The way we look at things is physiology and biochemistry, meaning how these things work and how do they correlate. The human body is a system. It is complex. And if you don't get to the cause, if you don't get to the root of the problem, you're not going to get better. People make the mistake of getting on Google and seeing that they have a problem. They have this symptom, and they see some advertisement on the internet, so they take it. And then pretty soon they have 10 supplements, and they don't know what they're doing. And we have to peel it. You have to open the onion, you have to peel it out, and then you have to sort of rebuild it. So Dr. Google is dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Even a lot of the sites that people use reference-wise are outdated, inaccurate. Again, it's just dangerous.
Well, and there's a term that I learned from some of the stuff you sent me this afternoon before we started recording. There are cyberchondria. I had never heard this before. A manifestation of a person's anxiety about their health that is made worse by searching online for medical information. Note, it is a form of hypochondria. So, the era of looking things up on Dr. Google has created a new term, cyberchondria. What do you think there about people that have this issue? Because apparently 4 of 5 internet users look online for health information, and they're also cyberchondriacs. They are the unfounded escalation of concerns about common symptoms based on review of search results online.
I was doing some more research, and 20% in the last 3 years. It's gone up because of COVID. 20% of business psychologists and psychiatrists and therapists is because of people that have read things on the internet and they think something's wrong with them. And then their anxiety goes up. It's a vicious circle, and then you look something up on the internet, so you think something wrong with you. So you go to the medical doctor and you get more medicine. And then this happens, and then you end up with more medicine. You're looking up more stuff, and it's a waste of a lot of time and a lot of money. There's a reason that we do what we do, and that is to help people. It is to strip it down and to keep it simple and to help people understand. I always tell people the number one thing that we do is educate people so they can empower themselves and be their own advocate. If they don't see it and they don't understand it, don't believe it. There's more to just reading information and applying it. That's why we went to school. That's why we practice. We learn every day. I know Dr. Tindall and I research every day and discuss it. We have different opinions, but we see different kinds of patients. So the reason people come to us is because they have doubts. And a lot of times they created those doubts and they made those doubts worse. And I know a big part of what I do is encouragement, because women come, and they are like, oh my gosh, I read this, I read that, I'm taking this, and they get to the point that they don't know, and they're not getting results, and it's just not good. People need to stick with people like us that know what we're doing, and our goal is to help people.
Well, and you said something there about, self-informed. And so what's the balance between looking up information and being self-informed and going overboard with it making Dr. Google the evil thing that we're talking about today?
Well, what I tell people is looking at Google right now. You're here and you're with me, and we're going to discuss this, and I'm going to educate you. And then if you want to get on Google I just want you to research the chemistry of what we're talking about. And you have to go to the science of the matter. There's no way a patient can decipher the art of any kind of medicine. True medicine is an art. There's science and but it's an art, and that's why people can't do it on Google. And what'll happen is people they don't even know where to go to look up stuff, let alone understand it. They wouldn't be able to pronounce half of the words.
Well, and knowing how Google operates, the first things that it's going to show you are ads and things like that. And if you don't know that already, you're clicking on things that.
Yeah, you get it. I call it the rabbit hole of the internet. Like me, when I'm doing research, I get there, but I'm doing research. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to click on this link, and pretty soon it's 4 hours later, and, I'm researching. But people, they end up somewhere buying something that they don't even know how they got where they got. So I try to defer them to, don't research anything. I will give you plenty of things to focus on, and you can't just stop. Focus on life. Focus on living and being better. The purpose of getting healthy is to enjoy your life, to live a long life, and to enjoy the people that you love and care about. I don't really know what else there is,
Well, it's like what you sent me today. Googling your symptoms when you don't feel well is the most efficient way to convince yourself that you're dying.
Yeah, and you're making yourself sick, like the other infographics show. If you make yourself sick anxiety-wise, plus sitting in front of electronics for hours and hours and hours is no quality of life.
Yeah.
For your scientists, like we're doing research, or it's a little bit different as part of our job, but sitting in front of the computer reading stuff you don't understand and just randomly buying things based on propaganda.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Well, Dr. Tindall, you said something earlier about drugs.com. So you used a specific website that is a good place to go to find information. So are there others that you would recommend for people to use if they're wanting to find out more about certain symptoms? Or would you say stay away from looking up symptoms and only go, how would you go about doing your own research if you're a layman at home? To be able to maybe be prepared for a visit, even with a naturopath like yourself?
Of course, usually with us, we get people who've already been to someplace else.
Right.
Like I said, we're a lot of times we're their last stop. So I don't mind patients questioning me. I actually encourage patients to question me. And why do I, how do I get to the diagnosis, or how did I get to this conclusion of where it's at? And I show them. We'll show them the information, how we got there in most cases. It's hard because, again, there's so much bad information out there, and all these websites are willing to tell you what you, and here's the biggest problem with it. People tend to gravitate towards the information that they want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like when we deal with the weight loss stuff, I hear patients all the time well, I know what I'm doing. And I'm sitting here looking at them. And again, I'm making myself in trouble. I'm sitting here looking at them like, okay, you're 300 pounds. You're unhealthy. You could barely walk in here. You could barely fit through my front door. Yet you Googled everything and you know what you're doing. Obviously, you don't.
Right.
But you can't convince them, because what happens is people, they want to, the number one person that we lie to is ourselves.
Absolutely.
So what happens is we want to look at information on the internet to verify how I'm feeling or what I believe. So therefore, I don't have to take any responsibility or change or anything like that. It's a delicate balance as a patient. You want to ask your doctor. I tell patients, encourage your doctor. I can encourage them to always ask doctors, because we are people, we make mistakes. And a diagnosis is our best guess. People don't get that. So what I tell patients is, look, this is what I think it is. Here's why I think it is. If you want to go and, look at go into like Google Scholar, or, some of the places where they, like PubMed, where they publish research and things like that. Even with that, you still have to be careful, because last year research articles were pulled at the highest rate in the last 2 years, highest rate, 13,000% increase in research articles that have been pulled because they're being bought off, like in back that study back in the 60s, they're being bought off by these places. So now you have to factor in the common sense factor. I know it sounds funny, but when I read a research article, I go, and from what I know about physiology, because we study a lot of physiology and we study all this stuff. So when I look at a research article and I read something, I'm like, okay, does that make sense? If it's yes, then what I try to do is I try to kind of verify it. So I go to like other different resources and places to look up to see if that is consistent with what you find. So that's where the doctrine and the art that Dr. Stuber is talking about is that we have to take a whole bunch of information in, try to get us on a roadmap, or how do we think through it, and how do you process through it, and then how do you get to what's going on with the patient, and how do you get to these diagnoses, and then after that you go, well, here's our recommendations as far as supplements that we're going to use to help support your health and rebuild your health back. And we try to educate patients like this is why we think it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, and we just got Mariam back, and Mariam, we're talking now about the balance of trying to, as a patient at home or someone trying to figure out something by using the internet, not specifically Google. Google's a search engine that a lot of people use, and it's become a term. But Dr. Tindall has pointed out a couple of websites that he has trusted, but even some of those are tough. So do you have anything you want to add in doing your own research at home? And Dr. Stuber even pointed out, a lot of times, people at home don't have the research training that you guys have from, medical training and all of that good stuff. So what would you say to people at home wanting to be informed before they come and talk to a doctor or a naturopathic doctor?
So I know it is very difficult to navigate through a lot of information, especially nowadays. There's so much conflicting information. There's so much competition out there with, companies and just companies trying to sell you things and giving you misinformation. And unfortunately, a lot of those websites are not government regulated, so they can basically just put any information out there and, claim that it's true, even though it's not. So I highly suggest just looking at credible sources, scientific journals, articles, kind of at least glancing through them. A lot of, or most, if not all, scientific journals have an abstract that basically summarizes the research study, and you can kind of just glance at that. But I know that even that is difficult to do, especially if you don't have training or background in science. So what I recommend doing is basically gathering a list of websites and a list of sources, looking at each one. If there is conflicting information, kind of put or write or jot down what information is conflicting, and then actually talk to a professional about it. That's kind of how I would go about, conflicting information or maybe misinformation or false information. I recommend Google Scholar. I think that's a pretty good source for a lot of science related information. There's also PubMed. PubMed is what I mostly used when I was in schooling. I'm not sure what two websites Dr. Tindall.
Those are the two. So Dr. Tindall's they're smiling because of you. Yeah. I was waiting for him to chime in. I was letting you finish first, but yeah.
Well, there you go. See, we're not as conflicting as a lot of information out there.
Well, I mean, and I think the important thing that all of you are saying, and even for someone like me that gets to hang out with people like you guys, is that there's so much out there that can pull you in the wrong direction. Dr. Stuber, I think you put that really well, is that it does pull you. You can get a couple of clicks in, and then you're 4 hours down the road and you've taken too many wrong turns.
You get confused. You were confused to start with. That's why you got on the internet. And then by the end of it, it's like your brain is completely scrambled. So, again, if you keep it simple and you seek, before you start on Google, you seek a professional that knows what they're doing, then let the professional guide you what to research. We start with Grey's Anatomy and start with physiology, guide physiology. They've been around for a long time. When you look on the internet and you don't even know anatomy, how can you possibly make any decision about your health? It doesn't even make sense. You don't even know what you're treating. You're treating, oh, I have insomnia, so I'm going to take this. And you're just treating symptoms. And that doesn't work long term. It doesn't work short term.
Well, even for things as simple, you mentioned insomnia, Dr. Tindall, even for things as simple as somebody wanting to maybe start taking melatonin at night or something like that. There's so much conflicting information out there that it's still better to talk to a naturopathic doctor, holistic approach, especially, newlifenaturopathic.com, we encourage. But for people even making those small decisions by going to Google first, it has to be frowned upon.
Well, yeah, because part of it is, first of all, like melatonin, if you want to take it, you just have to take it. If you want to be consistent with it helping you, you have to actually take it every night at the same time, because you're trying to get on your sleep cycle, circadian cycle. The other problem is the quality of the product. New York State 2015 did a study on a lot of herbs and stuff that you buy at Walmart, GNC, all these trash places, and guess what? None of the stuff was in it. So that's the other frustration that people run into. They go, well, I tried this, I tried that, because I bought these, and I go, where you buy them? Well, I bought them on Amazon, or I bought them on this line, or I bought it at this company that's selling the next miracle with stuff. And I tell people, most of that stuff is trash. It doesn't work. That's why we use standard process, that's whole food supplements. And that's also why we use Meta Herb for for the vast majority of our stuff, because we know that they're high quality products. They're standardized, they're tested. What you purchase is actually in the bottle. They're therapeutic dosages. They got researchers that put these things together, and it's very, very good quality, high quality stuff. And I tell people all the time, I said, people look at like nutrition, they want to try to buy the cheapest thing. I said, well, you don't do that with a car. I said, Yugo was a cheap car, and it's not around anymore. But everybody wants to own a Cadillac or a Corvette but it's a really expensive car. But that expense, you get quality. That's kind of what I look at when I come with the supplements. Is I want something that works, and I want something that I'm going to invest in that's going to be beneficial for my health. But it's a delicate balance with patients, because they want to be informed, and again, we get it, because we see patients that go to their medical doctors, and the medical profession nowadays is basically management of sickness. You got diabetes, let's just get you on these drugs, we're just going to manage your symptoms. And patients don't want their symptoms managed. Patients want to feel better. So they're frustrated, and they're like, okay, I'm not getting the answers from my medical doctor. And I know a lot of times they'll tell people, give them answers, and the patient looks at them and goes, I know that's complete BS. So now I got to go out and try to figure out what to do. Or kind of what we were talking about earlier with, kind of your family thing. I don't want to say this to my doctor, because they put my other family members on the medications, and the medications actually destroyed their quality of life and killed them sooner. So I don't really want to go that route anymore. So they're afraid. And it's again, they don't, it's just trying to find the resources, and they're searching. And unfortunately, there's a lot of traps and pitfalls out there for them. Yeah. And a lot of people fall into them. And that's where, like I said, that's why we're trying to do these podcasts to educate people, why we do what we do in our office and our practices and stuff. And, we try to keep our care that we do with patients affordable. Our weight loss program is, if you do it monthly, it's $39 a month. You're not going to find a better program that's going to actually teach you how to be healthy for the rest of your life for less costs. I worked with a company before I did this. I was consulting with them, and they were charging $600 to $800 a month for, for their weight loss program. Basically, it was just a starvation program. And they had people that would call them up and encourage them to, coaches, encourage them to stay basically starving themselves to lose weight. And I started doing a lot of labs for them because we can do labs all over the country. And, these people are just getting, sicker and sicker. And I was like, hey man, these people are getting sick off your program. Well, that's why I didn't work with them very long, because they kind of like, well, we don't want to hear that from you. Get out of our, we don't want to associate with you anymore. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. I don't need to be, I don't need to do this. We want to do it because we like helping people. We're seeing people that are struggling or having a hard time getting by. That's just kind of our personality. Is what we do is, we're here to help.
We are New Life. That's it. New Life Naturopathic. And we encourage you, of course, as you've seen, if you're watching on YouTube, newlifenaturopathic.com, new-lifeweightloss.com, 2 great resources. We poked a little fun at Dr. Google today. Google is a resource to get you started if you have direction. If you've talked to a professional that says, hey, go to this site or that site to do whatever research, if you want to, you mentioned drugs.com, where you could look at the way that drugs interact and things like that. And you guys mentioned Google Scholar and a couple other options. So there are things out there, but you got to use the right ones. Hey, we even have, cat mascots from time to time on this podcast.
Without kidding. So right now he says, I want to eat.
Hey, the schedule, that you got to have that sometimes. But that lets us know that it's about time.
First thing I would Google on Dr. Google is top credible science websites, and just
any that say ad next to them in the search, just go on, scroll past those. That's how we have to do that. All right, folks. Well, what were you adding there, Dr. Tindall?
Or just go to our website and hire us.
No, that's what we want right there. newlifenaturopathic.com. And we encourage you, of course, to download and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform of Pursuit of New Life, and then also New Life Naturopathic on YouTube. And that's where you find us each week for Pursuit of New Life.
Thanks a lot, Quincy.
Thanks, Quincy.